Yo, what's up, fight fans? It's Dirty here, back with another banger video. And today I was having my morning brew, and I realized that I was tossing and turning all last night when I was in bed because I just realized that UFC 307 still hasn't really been fully announced. I mean, we're still missing like the main event. We still have a bunch of fights that have yet to be announced. Meanwhile, we got like 308 that has four amazing fights already, and then like six other ones that are still even amazing. So I figured, I'm gonna play savior today, and I'm gonna kind of swoop in, and I'm gonna help the UFC out, help them build a card, and so that's what we're gonna do. Don't mind this watermark here. I'm broke, so we get to like, activate Windows soon. But let's get started, man. So the first event here, don't hate on this. It's just the first event. It's gonna get better than this, I promise. But we got Michael Chiesa, he's obviously a vet, very seasoned vet, versus Salikov, Muslim Salikov. Now, I think Salikov just fought Santiago Ponzinibbio, right? Maybe I'm mixing that up, but I think he did, and it was kind of a controversial decision. And then Chiesa obviously just fought Tony Ferguson and subbed him in the first round. And I'm pretty sure none of us are really fans of these fighters. Like, they're kind of just bots that are in the UFC. And I mean, the only reason I really made this fight is because Chiesa, I noticed, is from Colorado or Denver or something like that. Denver, Colorado, I think. And this fight is in Salt Lake City, Utah, which is right by Colorado. So I think, it'd be kind of cool to have him like near his hometown, and I'm sure he'd have like the fan base cheering for him. So it'd be a good way to open up the card, I'd say. And then Salikov, I just picked him to fight Salikov because they're both ranked pretty similarly, and I don't think that their performance is really like warranted any jumps up in competition, especially like Salikov and Chiesa. I mean, both of them, because Chiesa fought a washed Tony Ferguson and subbed him. Like, that's not really that impressive. And then Salikov, he went to a controversial decision. So I think it's kind of fair having them fight each other and just get rid of one of them also, because both of these guys have been in the rankings for a while, or not even in the rankings, in the UFC for a while, and just get some fresh faces in here, get rid of one of these guys. And anyway, let's move on to the more interesting matchups. So we got Vinicius Oliveira versus Montel Jackson. Now, this would actually be a really good fight in my opinion, because Montel Jackson, he obviously just came off that 18-second KO, I think, or something, maybe even less than that. But yeah, he came off that on a fight night recently, so he would be willing to fight soon, hopefully. And then Vinicius Oliveira just came off a pretty good dismantling of Ricky Simone. And Vinicius Oliveira is a really exciting striker. I mean, most of you guys probably know by now, especially with the flying knee that he had earlier this year when he made his debut against I think it was Sopaj or whatever. And I think this would be a good fight because we want to keep Oliveira away from grapplers, in my opinion, because obviously Ricky Simone's a good wrestler, but he didn't really wrestle Oliveira for some reason. He kind of shot a couple takedowns, but they got stuffed. And Oliveira, when he was fighting Sopaj, though, he was kind of getting manhandled a bit in the earlier rounds by Sopaj. And so we kind of want to avoid grapplers. And I think Montel Jackson would just entertain the stand-up, and this would be a good fight. I know Montel Jackson, I think he called for a ranking, like a ranked opponent, but I think this would just be a good way to make an exciting fight for the fans. And this would definitely be exciting because they would probably stand up and have some good exchanges on the feet. So let's just move on to the next one then. Talbott versus Yanez. This is the fight that Talbott called for, and it still hasn't been booked. I thought it was going to be booked for the Sphere, but I don't know why they wouldn't book it for the Sphere, honestly. This would have been a really good card to push Talbott even more as a star. And, obviously the UFC is trying to build him as a star, so they might want to have this fight kind of higher up on the prelims, maybe like the main prelim fight, but this would just be a really good fight. This would be a good fight, and Talbott called for Yanez, so they already have a bit of beef brewing, I guess you could say. And I think Yanez would probably end up losing this matchup, which I would like to see, because I personally think Talbott deserves to be ranked soon. So this would be a good way to get him towards the rankings, in the rankings. And yeah, after like the performance against Simon and the 18-second knockout, that would also be good because Jackson had an 18-second knockout and Talbot had an 18-second knockout. So it'd be kind of the battle of the 18-second knockouts. Whoever has a better performance is the best knockout artist here. But yeah, this would be a really good fight. Obviously, I think most people would want to see this, and I just don't know why the UFC hasn't booked it yet. I hope they're not gonna like waste it on a fight night or something when this is an excellent way to like put it on a. This is an excellent fight to put on a pay-per-view and build up your star in Payton Talbott. So this would definitely be a good fight to have on that card. Next up, people are gonna see this and be like, this doesn't make any sense. Yadong versus Martinez. In my opinion, this is a really good fight to have on the card, especially since Song Yadong hasn't been booked yet. I don't think he's been booked yet. I tried looking for it, and Martinez either hasn't been booked. And obviously Martinez just came off his loss against Aldo, and Yadong came off his loss against Jan, right? He won like the first round, I think, against Jan. But towards the end, it was obviously Jan who was kind of dominating there. Not really dominating, but it was a bit of a close fight, but still, Jan won pretty obviously he won that fight, and even with like a groin injury, I'm pretty sure. But Martinez, in my opinion, he got kind of dominated by Jose Aldo. And I don't know, this would be a good fight though to have because Yadong, he's obviously always fighting these elite guys, and he ends up losing the fights. People consider Yadong to be like an elite guy, like a top 5 guy. They always talk about like, oh no, he always like holds up with the top guys, but his only top 5 win really, unless I'm not remembering this right, let me know in the comments if I'm like completely screwing this up, but I'm pretty sure it's Cheeto Vera, and that was like a obvious robbery. Like most people scored at 29-28 for Cheeto, and it's considered to be a pretty robbery. But yeah, so that's like his only top 5 fight. So I think he just needs to kind of fight down a little bit in Martinez, and Martinez would be a good stylistic matchup. My goal with these fights is to make a fight that's going to be entertaining for the fans, not something that's going to be a grappler versus Song Yadong. We don't want to see that. We want to see like a stand-up fight or 2 grapplers versus each other or something like that, something that's going to make for like good style clashes for the fans. And this would really be entertaining, especially with like Martinez's low kicks. Those would be eating up Song, and then his boxing and everything. I mean, it would just be a really good fight, and it would be something that the fans would want to see, especially if they're slugging at high altitude. It could, high altitude could also affect this, where it could slow down the pace, which would make it a little boring. But overall, I think this would still be a good fight to have, and it'd be kind of a layup in a sense for Yadong, assuming he wins this, because he's fighting the elite guys and he was losing to them. So this would be a good way to lay him up, give him a layup, and kind of, have him ready to fight maybe a Cheeto Vera rematch or something like that. That would be a really good fight in my opinion. Okay, so this one you guys might think is crazy because Tybura and Spivak are fighting this week. They're fighting very soon, Saturday. But in my opinion, this is a fight that should happen because especially if Tybura or Spivak gets like a knockout in the first round, or if it ends with one of them not taking too much damage, this would be the fight to make in my opinion, because Almeida, we don't want him sitting around waiting for one of these guys in the top 5 to finish their fight. And just he's going to be waiting for months. He's going to be out for months because obviously he called for Cyril Gane, and Gane's fighting Volkov, and then we have he can't fight Volkov. He just fought Blades and lost to him. Obviously Tom Aspinall would not make any sense for him. Pavlovich is going to take a break also, I think. So you kind of have Almeida just sitting there waiting, and we don't want that happening. So this would be the perfect way to kind of have these contenders, because Tybura and Spivak, they'd be ranked like 6, I think, or something if they win this fight. And it would be a perfect matchup to see who's next in line for maybe a title eliminator. So the winner of Almeida versus Spivak, I would personally pick Almeida, but if Almeida won this fight, for instance, he would be next in line for a title eliminator against like whoever that be. Probably like I don't even know. I don't even know who it would be right now, because the heavyweight's just so like complicated right now. They've got so many like, and with John Jones holding up the division, it's just like a nightmare, honestly. But this would just be a good fight to make and get the rankings kind of settled, and see who's kind of next in line for a title eliminator. So yeah. Then these are the confirmed fights on the card. So I know Kevin Holland versus Chris Curtis. This is confirmed, and then Kayla Harrison versus I don't honestly know who this is. Some WMMA girl, but this could be on. This could be like if you want to do like a six fight card, then you could do like Chris Curtis versus Kevin Holland on the main cards, opening up the main card, and then you could have Kayla Harrison and this girl, I don't know her name. Or you could just put Kevin Holland and Chris Curtis on like the prelims, but in my opinion they don't deserve to be on the prelims. But then again, like Song Yadong doesn't deserve to be on the prelims, so this is kind of like a mess. And Almeida, but the idea that I had behind this card is just to stack it as much as possible and make it like realistic fights, not just like brain dead stacking where I'm just putting, Conor McGregor should be on this. Like, obviously not. I'm just trying to make fights that would be good, like fights that could happen and that would be good and entertaining. And so these fights are confirmed already. So these could even be shifted down to the prelims with some of the stuff we have here, like this and this. This should be on the main card in my opinion. So I don't know. This stuff could go on the prelims. Then we got another confirmed fight, Aldo versus Bautista. I also wanted to talk about this because, in my opinion, Aldo's going to win this fight. But this is another one of those fights that is like, why is this happening? Aldo should be fighting like Corey Sandhagen. They should have waited for Corey to lose his fight. Or, obviously they probably didn't expect Corey to lose his fight maybe. But Corey versus Aldo would have been so much better than this. Or even like Aldo versus Cejudo, Aldo versus Cheeto. There's just so many more better fights that should have happened. Instead of feeding Bautista to Aldo, or like even the reverse way, whatever they're trying to do. If they're trying to build up Bautista as a contender, it just doesn't make sense to give Aldo him. I guess they're thinking Aldo's towards the end of his career, but in my opinion, Aldo looked really good against Martinez, and it looks like they're just feeding him somebody on the same level. So I don't know what they're trying to do, or if they're trying to get Aldo to lose or whatever, but dude, Aldo should be saved for these super fights, for these big fights against top 5 guys. And he could win a top 5 fight. Like, he could win against Cejudo. He could win against Cheeto again. You never know. But, yeah, that's why this is, in my opinion, this fight, I mean, it's only good because Aldo has the name value. But other than that, Bautista should not be fighting him. Then this would be like the featured fight. Aljo versus Evlov. This is a really good fight in my opinion. This is the fight that I was calling for when Aljo won at 300. And, Evlov, in my opinion, he lost against Arnold Allen. So this is a good fight because I don't think he should be next in line for a title shot. So this would be a good way of determining like who maybe might get the next title shot. I don't know if this is actually a title eliminator. I think it's marketed as one, but Aljo versus Evlov would be like a really good stylistic matchup because it's the grappler versus grappler, like I was talking about earlier. We wouldn't have like these strikers versus strikers and grapplers versus grapplers. And that's what this is. This is like elite grappler versus elite grappler. And I would pick Aljo to win this, honestly, but Evlov would be a really hard matchup for him, especially because Evlov's technically undefeated. So if Aljo won this, it would be a lot of hype for him again. And I think most of the fan base might even root for Aljo, which would be good to see, especially because, how hated he was as a champ. But, dude, I just don't like Evlov at all, in my opinion. I hate him. He's my least favorite featherweight for sure, so I would 100% be rooting for Aljo. But I'm glad this is a confirmed fight, and this is a really good fight that the UFC came up with. I think it's only 3 rounds, which is going to make it even more exciting, in my opinion, because it'll kind of up the pace, and at altitude, it's going to be even more crazy. But, yeah, Aljo versus Evlov is a really solid fight, and I'm glad the UFC made that. Then this is the co-main. So this is what I wanted to get to, though. Let me move this. This is what I wanted to get to, though. So, yeah. So this would be the main event if the UFC doesn't do what I think they're going to do for the headliner. And we don't want a women's main event, bro. Like, this would be that would mean Aldo versus Evlo would be the co-main, and then this would be the main event, Raquel Pennington versus Juliana Pena. And I just think most people don't want to see this fight. Like, I'm sorry if you're like a big WMMA guy and you're a real hardcore and you really want to see this fight, but most fans do not want to see this fight. Most people are going to be buying a pay-per-view to see Raquel Pennington fight Juliana Pena. That's not a fight that we want to see. So if this were the main event, it would completely ruin the card, in my opinion. Even with like how stacked it is here, dude, just the main event needs to be hype to match this. But yeah, so this could be the co-main, you know, whatever, get it done. But for the main event, what I have proposed is this, Pantoja versus Kaya Sakura. So this, in my opinion, will be a really good fight. I've said that like every fight, but it's true because these are all good fights, man. I only make banger matchups. So Pantoja versus Kaya Sakura. Obviously, I'm pretty sure all of you guys have heard about Kaya Sakura by now. And the thing is, all the champs are booked up. Everyone's already talked about this. Like, Alex is booked up, or he's like, whatever he's doing, he's not going to fight on 307, though. And obviously, we got all the title fights that are already booked. And Islam's injured and stuff like that. So there's nobody really stepping up. But Pantoja could step up because he's the only guy who isn't booked and who doesn't have an injury. And the only problem with him is who is he going to fight, right? Because flyweight is so booked. It's pretty much booked, all booked. Urseg's fighting, you know, Kai Kara France, and we got like Royval versus Tatsuro Taira. So the whole division is kind of booked at the moment for the top 5 at least. So this would be the fight to make, in my opinion. You know, Kaya Sakura, he was the champ in Ryzen, and this would be an insane leap in competition, in my opinion, and I think he would end up losing to Pantoja. But if this is like a Hail Mary, like we need to save the card, then I think this is the fight that you need to make, because you have to kind of go back to the Urseg versus Pantoja situation where they needed to save the card, so they fed Urseg to Pantoja, and Urseg actually did end up doing insanely well in that fight. But this is similar to that. This is very similar in that he's going to be taking a big leap in competition. But this could end up, we saw with the Urseg fight, you never know. You can't always like root or like assume that Pantoja is going to win his fight. So this could end up being like a big upset, assuming that Kaya Sakura is the underdog. But it could end up being a good upset, and it's probably 100% going to be a good scrap on the feet and, you know, some good scrambles and stuff. And I just think it's going to be a good fight. I think this is the fight that a lot of people are calling for. And, you know, some people are saying, like, why would Kaya Sakura just instantly get a title shot? And that is kind of crazy. But I think given the situation, you know, any other division, you wouldn't really see this happening. But since it is flyweight, and flyweight's kind of insane. With, like, flyweight's insane because you got, like, number 10 fighting number 1 and stuff like that. I mean, it's just insane. So this would be the fight to make. Most people would want to see this, and it would definitely save the card in terms of, you know, saving it from this and all the other stuff that they have. I mean, half of these fights are just what I made up. Like, why not have Talbot versus Yanez? That's a fight that you 100% need to put on there. Yadong versus Martinez, this is kind of like what I think should happen. I don't know if the UFC would ever consider this, but all of these fights are pretty good, except for this one, I'd say. But every fight like this, why can this not happen? Why can these fights not happen? This would be a good fight. And I think it would just, you know, help the pay-per-views and help more people actually want to see the fight and save it kind of from this woman main event. But, yeah, so let me know if you guys agree with this, if you guys think that this is actually a good pay-per-view that you guys would want to see. And, you know, I appreciate all the comments on the last video. So leave a comment down below. Subscribe if you want. I'm going to be making, like, trying to make videos every day on, you know, just whatever I see is going on in the MMA scene and, like, UFC stuff, maybe, like, more card builders like this or just matchups that I want to see happen. But, yeah, so if you like this type of content, just subscribe and leave a like on the video or whatever. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.